"Sir, please finish the work, each of them, and we will finish the work, and we will finish it very quickly. We are starting very close." President of the United States Donald Trump literally just a few minutes ago delivered the previously announced emergency address to the American people regarding the US war against Iran. Earlier, American media had already speculated that in this primetime address, Trump would announce the end of the war, especially since Trump himself, a couple of hours before that, hinted that the American people are already tired of this war and are demanding its end. But no, Trump announced that the war is continuing and predicted that it would last another 2 or 3 weeks. But the most important thing was said in this address. Trump admitted that skeptics do not believe in his victory, and there are more and more people like that among Americans. That's why Trump decided to remind Americans that America was drawn into years of war during the First and Second World Wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the war in Iraq. That's why his war against Iran is just another march. And what's also important is that Trump publicly asked the allies to help him, since he can't handle it alone, and stated that the problem of the Hormuz Strait is now the allies' problem, not America's. Nevertheless, the US is ready to bomb all the power plants in Iran and, as he said, send Iran back to the Stone Age. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss together this urgent address by Donald Trump, what was said in it and what was not. But before we begin, I ask you to support the work of this YouTube channel by subscribing, donating, or becoming a sponsor on YouTube. How to do this? All the links and details are in the description of this video. It says there, support Alexei Pichi's channel. And you can choose any format that's convenient for you. I'll be grateful for any support. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. The link is also in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in.
To be continued. We have all the cards and we don't. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective.
So, US President Donald Trump, in his first address to the nation about the war with Iran, told Americans that the war is nearing its end and predicted it would continue for another 23 weeks. By the way, we've heard this somewhere before. Everyone was waiting for this address, as insiders assured that Trump was preparing to announce the complete end of the war. Well, for example, the publication Politica wrote that Trump would announce the end of the month-long war in his primetime address. And earlier, against the backdrop of a sharp rise in oil prices and increasingly disappointing public opinion poll results. And next, I'll quote Politica. In the context of the ongoing conflict, this speech gives Trump an opportunity to lay out the goals of the war, what is considered a victory, and how he intends to act if the ceasefire negotiations reach a deadlock. From a political point of view, this is not an easy task for the president, considering the widespread unpopularity of the war with Iran, and his own relative lack of confidence in delivering more pre-written formal speeches directly in front of the camera. Before his address, Trump himself kind of built a little anticipation. Trump unexpectedly stated that Americans lack the patience to wait until the United States seizes Iranian oil. Here is his quote. "We could just take their oil, but I'm not sure people in our country have the patience for that, which is a shame because they want this to come to an end. If we had stayed there, I would have just preferred to take their oil. We could do it so easily, that's what I would have preferred, but people in the country are kind of saying, just win, you're winning so much, just win and come back home. And that's fine with me too because we have a lot of oil. And now that moment has come." He addressed the American nation, and this address lasted a little over 20 minutes. And first of all, Trump issued another warning to Iran that he intends to deprive it of its stockpile of ballistic missiles, thus trying to explain to the American people the very essence of this war with Iran. In his address to the nation, he warned that these ballistic missiles could soon, quote, reach American territory, Europe, practically any point on Earth. That's why the war had to be started. Last month, Iran did indeed attempt to strike the American-British base on the Diego Garcia Islands, located 4,000 kilometers from its coast, which raised questions about Tehran's military capabilities and whether it can strike targets at a greater distance than previously thought. Trump hinted at this on Wednesday evening, and here is his quote. "They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they succeeded, achieving the maximum possible range. And they had types of weapons whose existence no one believed in. We just found out about them. We destroyed them. Trump also presented his war with Iran as another step in the years-long effort to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, calling the conflict necessary for America's security.
И безопасности свободного мира.
Trump called the war a response to 47 years of violence from Iran and its proxies, mentioning the bombing of the Marine barracks almost 40 years ago and the bombing of the USS Cold Destroyer in 2000. Here is his quote. The possession of nuclear weapons by these terrorists would pose an unbearable threat. The most brutal and lawless regime on earth could carry out its campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder without hindrance, hiding behind a nuclear shield. My predecessors as president should have dealt with the Iranian regime before I took office. We don't have to be there, we don't need their oil, we don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies. Trump once again emphasized that the new leaders of Iran are, quote, less radical and much more reasonable. While American officials are working with intermediaries to end the war, Trump once again repeated his threat. And then a quote, if the confrontation takes place, we will deliver a very strong blow to each of these power plants and will probably do it simultaneously. He added that the US has not yet struck Iranian oil, even though, quote, it is the easiest target of all because it would not give them the slightest chance for survival or recovery. Although, let me remind you, just yesterday Trump stated that he was ready to end the war without signing a deal with Tehran. Well, then came the part that, in my opinion, was the main purpose of this address. The day before, CNN published the results of a poll which showed that 67% of Americans believe that Donald Trump does not have a clear plan for resolving the situation in Iran, and the war needs to be ended urgently so that the US is not drawn into a catastrophe. That's why Trump addressed the skeptics directly. Trump compared US involvement in the war with Iran to other conflicts in modern history, trying to convince skeptical Americans to view the war as an investment in the future. Quote, it's very important that we maintain an objective perspective on this conflict. Well, then Trump went on to list the duration of America's involvement in recent wars, and Trump says World War I. Americans participated for 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days World War II, 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. Korean War, 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. Vietnam War, 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days. Iraq War, 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. But the current war, as he tried to remind them, Americans concerned about these endless wars abroad and rising gas prices at home, has lasted only 32 days so far. Quote, we have been participating in this powerful and brilliant military operation against one of the most powerful countries in the world for 32 days already, and this country has been practically destroyed and essentially no longer poses a threat. This is a real investment in the future of your children and grandchildren. Then Donald Trump stated that the Strait of Hormuz, the most important shipping route off the coast of Iran, which has remained closed since the US strikes in February, will naturally reopen after the war is over. He said there's no need to try to reopen it. It will somehow reopen on its own after the war. Quote, Iran is practically destroyed. The hardest part of the job is already done, so it will be easy from here on out, and in any case, when this conflict ends, the Strait of Hormuz will open naturally, just naturally. They will want to sell oil because that's all they have for rebuilding. But here's the problem. Trump hints that Iran itself will reopen the Strait of Hormuz because it will want to trade oil. But the thing is, Donald Trump himself previously lifted sanctions on Iranian oil, and Iran is actually in favor of export volumes of oil even with the strait closed. Moreover, Iranian oil suddenly started selling even without a discount because Iran blocked the oil exports from the Persian Gulf countries. But Trump insists that it would be beneficial for the Iranians to open the strait because they wouldn't be able to trade oil without it. They can. And this month has shown that they can even trade more than they did before. Addressing Americans, Trump stated that despite gasoline prices reaching $4 per gallon for the first time since 2022, as soon as the Hormuz Strait is opened, gasoline prices will quickly go down. So, in this statement, he confirmed that opening the Hormuz Strait is important for America. And right after that, Trump officially stated that it will not be him or the US, but specifically the allies who will be responsible for reopening the Hormuz Strait. He called on them, quote, to muster the courage that you may have never felt before and to lead the operation to control this vital waterway. So basically, Trump once again resorted to insulting the allies, while at the same time, in the same breath, calling on them to help him after all. Quote, go to the Strait and just seize it, protect it, use it for yourselves. The hardest part is already behind, so it should be easy from here on out. And this is Trump's statement. This is the latest sign that he plans to end the war against Iran without restoring control over the Hormuz Strait, which Iran has effectively closed for several weeks, which triggered a global energy crisis, sharply pushing up oil and gas prices. And although Trump said that regaining control over the strait would be easy, even the American military still, for some reason, does not want to escort oil tankers along this waterway because of the Iranian threat. And in the end, Trump told Americans that the war with Iran was nearing its end and predicted that it would last another 2 weeks. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that these key strategic objectives are close to completion. We have already accomplished all of this. Their fleet has been destroyed. Their air force has been destroyed. Their missiles are almost depleted or disabled. Taken together, these actions will undermine the Iranian army, destroy its ability to support terrorist groups, and deprive it of the capability to create a nuclear bomb. Once again, the goals regarding Iran were clear and unchanged: to destroy Iran's ballistic missile arsenal and production capabilities, to destroy its navy, to break its ties with terrorist groups, and to ensure that the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism never acquires nuclear weapons. Highlighting the achievements of the American armed forces, Trump paid tribute to the fallen servicemen, promising to end the war quickly.
Трамп также заявил, что семьи 13
The fallen servicemen of the US Army instructed him to finish what had been started. We will finish this job and we will finish it very quickly. We are already very close to our goal. Nevertheless, Donald Trump made it clear that the US is ready to strengthen its military response against Iran within the next 23 weeks. In the next 23 weeks, we will hit them extremely hard. We will put them back in the cell. Meanwhile, negotiations are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never talked about regime change, but regime change happened because all their original leaders died. They are all dead. In addition, Trump thanked his allies in the region, namely Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Bahrain. And he said we would not allow them to be harmed. What was not mentioned in Donald Trump's address? Well, Trump did not offer any new answer to the main question that concerns many voters. When exactly will this war end? He merely repeated his promise to bomb Iran back to the Stone Age within the next 23 weeks. Although, let me remind you, earlier he promised
закончить войну в период 4-6
and insisted that everything was ahead of schedule. Trump also did not articulate a specific plan to end the war, including whether he plans to send ground troops to seize enriched uranium in Iran or to weaken its ability to control the critical Hormuz Strait. And his address came precisely at a time when 3,500 additional Marines have just arrived in the Middle East. As for the diplomatic negotiations, which, according to Trump, were previously going perfectly and successfully, he did not show any new signs of optimism. Instead, he simply repeated his threats of escalation by striking Iranian power plants. Let me remind you, his third deadline and third ultimatum expire on April 6th. In general, based on Donald Trump's address, the war against Iran has been going on for at least 23 weeks. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation, paid subscription, or sponsorship on YouTube. All links and details are in this video's description. It says there, support the Alexei Pechi channel. Choose any format that's convenient for you, and I'll be grateful for any support. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.